This is a newsletter about behavior change and habit formation. Every week, I take a deep dive into a specific topic and share a couple of habits and recipes that you can use to build new practices, better practices in your own life. And today, I'm excited to talk about the psychology of money. Money is something I have been thinking about and practicing since I was 7 years old, running my very first business, which was called Robin's Pumpkin Patch in my hometown. And it's something that all of us can get better at because money is in fact a skill that can be improved. But I want to start with a specific story. About 10 years ago, I had run up a mountain called San Bruno Mountain just south of San Francisco. I had sweat streaming down my face, and I remember vividly, I was in tears. And as the wind was blowing past me at the top of this mountain and I was crying, the reason I was crying is because of the shame of, for the very first time in my life, debt. I had accumulated that debt. I honestly, to this day, don't remember why, but I remember the profound disgust I had with myself for having made mistakes to accumulate debt on my very first credit card. I didn't have much education in those days in my first years of using a credit card as to what a statement balance was, or a minimum payment, or how interest can compound over time. But I knew from indoctrination from an early age that debt was bad. Contrast that, almost 10 years later, I was in debt again. I had borrowed $40,000 from family and friends to buy the assets necessary to open up Robin's Cafe. But the difference this time is that I carried that debt with pride. I remember every time I opened the double doors of Robin's Cafe and walked in, I had so much pride for this thing that I was building and the effort that I was putting in. Now contrast that $40,000 in debt to the credit card debt 10 years previously, which was $6,000. And what's the difference there? The difference is entirely psychological. The difference was, in one case, I was ashamed and believed it was bad, and in the other, I was proud of what I was doing and the reason that I had borrowed this money to try and build a successful business. I wanted to share 3 small habits that I employ most days around money. And the first habit, very simply, is money is so often not talked about. It's not thought about, and especially when we're in debt or we're not doing as well financially as we would like, we shove it off into a dark corner and let those ideas gather dust. I combat this for myself by checking financial statements most days. Simply by accessing and looking at the real numbers on a very regular basis, and I would invite you, can remove money from that dark corner and just look at the reality of the situation much more regularly. By the way, I don't do that at night when I am likely to be more tired and more stressed. I will open bank accounts and look at financials during the light of the day when I am feeling good and energetic. The second habit that I have is automating savings. This is something I've seen talked about a lot for people who are employed, but as a longtime freelancer and lifelong self-employed person, I've never been able to automatically deduct a certain amount from every single paycheck. So what I've done instead, just in the last couple of years, is automatically withdraw even just a few dollars, but a certain set amount of money every single week from my personal checking account to my long-term savings account. When that savings process is automated, you don't think about it, and the habit becomes automatic. The third, and I believe the most important habit about money, is to talk about money. When we're struggling financially, habitually, culturally, we don't speak about it. And so ask people in your life about money. Ask them personal questions like how much do they earn and how do they handle their savings. Ask somebody you admire some piece of advice that they would give you about money. When we talk about these things, we bring them out into the open and we make much more opportunity for learning and for growth. When we don't talk about them, that's when the bad habits build. If I've learned anything from my practices with money over the last few decades is that money is entirely a psychological game. It is entirely in our heads, but it can be improved by incrementally adding small little money habits along the way. I hope this has been useful. I encourage you, I invite you to subscribe to Evolve, my weekly newsletter about behavior change. Just go to robinpzander.com and subscribe to the newsletter. And don't forget to subscribe to YouTube as well. Right here where you're watching, just hit the subscribe button so you will be updated about future videos that I post on YouTube. Thank you so much.